In this session, we are going to look in more detail at stakeholder analysis. Here is a mind map for our project to develop a college administration system. We can use this as a basis for further stakeholder analysis. One useful and widely used technique for analysing and classifying and prioritising stakeholders is called the power interest grid. Here, stakeholders are classified according to two factors: their power or influence over the project, and their interest or how much they will be affected by the outcome of the project. This analysis will help you to decide how best to manage stakeholders. Be clear, there are no fixed rules here. Every stakeholder should be treated individually. But broadly speaking, if they have a high level of interest and power, you are likely to involve them directly in the project as much as possible. If they have a low level of interest or power, you might tend to keep them informed and involve them selectively as the project goes along. If they have a low level of both interest and power, you might simply keep them on the radar. Just monitor them as the project progresses and change your approach if their position changes. To illustrate this, let's take a look at some of the key stakeholders as shown on our mind map for the college. On the academic side, senior tutors and administrators all have a high level of interest in the project. They will be impacted, but their influence or power will vary, with senior tutors having the most and administrators the least. Students might sit somewhere in the middle, whereas external content providers might have a medium level of interest, but because they're outside the organisation, a lower level of power. Further discussion, further analysis of this might lead some involved in the project to say, actually, students are highly impacted by this project. So you could simply move them across into the higher category and change your approach to managing them and involving them accordingly. And to give an example of how an external stakeholder might be important, a regulator might have a low level of interest in the project. They're not particularly impacted by it, but have a high level of influence. To sum up, the power interest grid will help you to analyze and classify stakeholders, prioritize them, and then involve them in the project and manage them accordingly. You have now learned more, I hope, about stakeholder identification and how you can use techniques like the stakeholder wheel or mind maps to do so. How to conduct stakeholder analysis, perhaps using the power interest grid to help you prioritize and analyze them further. and about stakeholder management and possible approaches to involving them in the project. Also, you've learnt something useful, some techniques that you can apply in practice on projects. Finally, a few key points for you to consider and carry forward. In stakeholder analysis, it's important to think widely and identify all of the stakeholders. You then need to prioritise and then involve stakeholders at the appropriate level, but some level of direct stakeholder involvement is essential, whether it's as members of the development team or through techniques like workshops and prototyping. And within the project team, everybody can contribute, but the key roles are the product owner, the business analyst, and the business representatives within the team.